I gotta tell you, I have been waiting for this one for a while. I've done several videos before this one. But for those of you who follow me, you know that I'm not the biggest Katrina Pierson fan. She spins basically everything. But in this particular clip, she still attempts to spin, but what she says just absolutely flies in the face of logic. Here we go.
He's a member of a club or society very strongly pro-Mexican, which is all fine. But I say he's got bias. I want to build a wall. I'm going to build a wall. This judge has treated me very unfairly. He's treated me in a hostile manner, and there's something going on.
If for a Muslim judge, would you also feel like they wouldn't be able to treat you fairly because of that policy of yours?
It's possible, yes. Yeah, that would be possible, absolutely.
So it isn't just Mexican judges, but now Muslim judges who could also be biased against Trump, according to the GOP's presumptive nominee. Trump's remarks come amid growing frustration from Republican leaders over his race-based attacks on Judge Gonzalo Curiel, a federal judge in California who's overseeing a lawsuit against the now defunct Trump University. Still with me is Michael Steele, and joining the table is MSNBC host of The Last Word, Lawrence O'Donnell himself. Thank you guys for being here. And also joining from Dallas is Katrina Pierson, national spokesperson for the Trump campaign. And Katrina, I want to start by asking you if you believe it's wise for Donald Trump to base his attacks or his rebuttal to the fact that he's being sued over Trump University on race, on the judge's race, and now adding that he doesn't think a Muslim judge could be fair either.
Well, I don't think that it's solely based just upon the ethnicity. I mean, Mr. Trump has also mentioned a number of questionable rulings by this judge, not to mention a number of affiliations that this judge has, including appointing 2 law firms that are also activists in their nature against Mr. Trump and his policy. So I think it's more than just the ethnicity here.
But it's the ethnicity that he's putting forward. When he's asked, he has the opportunity to say the things that you just said. But when he's asked repeatedly about why he thinks that the judge couldn't be fair, he says, well, he's Mexican. Do you think that's appropriate?
Well, he doesn't say, well, he's Mexican.
He does.
I mean, he goes
That's
on and he does. But that's not all he says. He says many of the things that I've just mentioned, all of which are important. Americans are not, they don't realize that yes, there is judicial activism in this country, and they know it. And look, we've been dealing with the mainstream media. You cannot have it both ways, Joy. You can't spend an entire year saying Donald Trump has an issue with Hispanics and Latinos and Mexicans. Polls show Mexicans don't like Donald Trump, and then say all of a sudden that that's not an issue here. It's clearly an issue.
Well, the reason I think that the media constantly talks about Donald Trump and his issues with Americans who aren't white is because he keeps bringing it up on his own. Nobody asked him about the judge's background, the judge's ethnicity. He brought it up on his own. And when he was asked if that would also apply to Muslims, he, on his own, without being prompted, said, yeah, actually, that's a problem. He's bringing these things up.
No, see, the media has the problem with Donald Trump and race, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is talking specifics. He has policies like the temporary ban on Muslim immigration for national security purposes, and like stopping illegal immigration and building a border wall to stop drugs from coming into the country. It's the media that has turned this into a race thing because of the way they've reported it. It's that simple.
But you don't think that maybe people of Mexican descent might be offended by the idea of being called rapists and saying that Mexican migrants are rapists? The media didn't invent that. They're not making people be offended by that. Let me play you a soundbite of Donald Trump also on his own bringing up race, not the media or the mainstream media making him do it. This is Donald Trump talking to supporters at a rally. Take a listen, Katrina.
We had a case where we had an African-American guy who was a fan of mine. Great fan, great guy. In fact, I want to find out what's going on with him. You know what look at my African-American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest?
What he did, it was just, to me, it was just a misstep. And again, I wasn't offended by what he said.
Okay, now this is a supporter of Donald Trump, okay? And even he called it a misstep, something that he shouldn't have said. Now, the lion's share of people that I've seen going across Twitter and other social media outlets are outraged. It's like Donald Trump was calling this guy my N-word or my slave. That's how we took it. Now, how this guy took it, and he was the one that was being addressed, hey, that's up to him. but we could still be offended by this, statement that Donald Trump made. So that's a bunch of bullshit as far as Donald Trump's concerned. Translation: Donald Trump doesn't want to be judged by, obviously, a Mexican, because he's making a big deal about the guy being a Mexican or even a Hispanic. Okay, he wouldn't accept a Muslim judge as far as making any type of rulings on his case. He's just insulted black people, and not just this, but the fact that he constantly tweets racist statements from white supremacist groups. So I guess he wouldn't want a black judge to preside over any case. Trump has got a problem with race, period. Anyway, let's keep going.
And Katrina, in response to try to clean that up, he then retweeted a picture of a random African-American family that had nothing to do with the Trump campaign as a way of trying to fix the original My African Americans gaffe. Why does Donald Trump keep doing that?
See, and he does this bullshit all the time. It was just like when he supposedly had 100 pastors that were going to come out and support him, and that was bullshit, and he had to back down on that. Then he tried to do it again. The first time when he did it, it was at his Trump Towers location in New York. The second time he tried to do it was a location in Atlanta. All of those basically were staged. None of them came off. He didn't get 100 black pastors in support. He only got, I believe it was like 5 of them that were basically in his pocket, and they have subsequently all been basically told off by the balance of the other black pastors that attended the quote-unquote conference that he supposedly had with them. So Donald Trump is basically, he's a master marketer, and he's throwing stuff out here, stuff like this that you're seeing in front of you, and couldn't be any further from the truth. And Katrina Pierson, she is a paid spokesperson for him, and she's trying to spin like hell, and it's not flying.
Why does he go directly to issues of race? And do you think it was appropriate for him to call that gentleman in the crowd my African American?
Well, to answer your first question, I absolutely think someone should be offended if Mr. Trump had actually said what the media was reporting that he said, because we never hear the next part of the context where there are good people coming into this country as well. When you are stating to...
Whoops! She didn't answer the question. Now she's trying to flip back to the Mexican comments that he made initially, and she's going to misquote it as well.
Department of Homeland Security statistics, that's not racist, it's just a fact, and it is a problem to Americans in this country, like Kate Steinle, who was killed by an illegal alien that continued to return to this country.
So you're saying it is a fact that Mexico is sending rapists over the border, and that Mexican migrants are by and large rapists? Do you think that that is accurate?
See, that's another example.
But you just
never
said that those are stating facts. You said that when Mexico sends its people here, they're sending rapists.
Are any of the criminal aliens? Are any of the criminal aliens rapists? Any of them? Just one?
He didn't say that. That's not what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said when Mexico is sending, hold on.
And he also did not say by and large.
Sending its people here, they're not sending their best. They're sending rapists. That's what he said.
And he also did not say all, and he also did not say by and large. He is.
Katrina. What he actually said, which you are attempting to misquote, he said that Mexico's not sending their best. They're sending rapists, murderers, etc., criminals, etc. And after that, he added, and I guess they are sending some good people too. He didn't say they were sending good people too. He said he guessed that they're sending good people too. So if you're going to quote it and you're going to try to hit somebody for misquoting, you shouldn't misquote either.
Simply stating the types of people that are coming into this country, which is widely known. And this administration,
the people who work in the
agriculture
industry, not in that
that's my point.
He didn't
Yes, he did,
mention it at
actually.
all.
Go back and play the whole clip, and you will hear him say, and some are coming for other reasons, and some are here to work, and I'm sure some of them are good. He did.
Bingo. Okay, she just got it. She just said, and she didn't say I assume, but he said he assumed that some of the people are good.
Say all of that stuff,
Okay.
but the media never plays that part. With regard to the quote at the rally recently with the African American supporter, this was solely in the context of wanting to know how this African American man was doing that was at his rally previously. He was talking about the support from the African American community that he has and was wanting to know how that gentleman was doing. Looks up and sees an African American, which he does in all of his rallies. Joyce, he points out the veterans, he points out the Latinos. Sometimes he'll even bring them up on stage. And this time, he looks over and leaves out one word, supporter, which was the context this was being discussed in. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump is a racist, but everyone's okay that Hillary Clinton goes on a black radio show and talks about keeping hot sauce in her purse. That's racist.
Okay, right. And the support that Donald Trump has at the moment, Michael Steele, 93% so far polling for Hillary Clinton, 4% for Donald Trump. But I guess my African American is endearing.
Among African Americans?
Yes, among African Americans.
Well, yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. That we're not surprised by.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
I do have a question for Katrina. So we've just spent the better part of this your time with us, Katrina, talking about the comments about the judge and the comments about other individuals. Is there conversation inside the campaign now to change or rework this narrative as we draw closer to the convention over the next few weeks? And what do those steps look like for you as a national spokeswoman? I'm sure you want to move on to other topics that are much more substance. What is that internal conversation like right now with Mr. Trump and Paul Manafort and Corey and others?
Well, right now we're preparing for a strong convention. We are talking about the policy differences between Mr. Trump and Hillary Clinton, who's likely going to lock up the nomination this week. And that's what we're talking about right now, and especially where Hillary Clinton is concerned, because she just gave a political speech, not a foreign policy speech, that listed a number of doors that she opened for herself to receive criticism under. And that's what we're going to be focusing on, because at the end of the day, when it comes to November, people do not want the status quo, and I think we've seen that unfold over the primary process on both sides of the aisle. And then it's going to be about identifying all of those individuals who feel like they don't have a political home, many of those people who have come into the process because of a Trump candidacy or a Sanders candidacy, and show those individuals that Mr. Trump's pro-American policies are far better for American citizens than maintaining the status quo, and even worse with Hillary Clinton.
So just as a quick follow-up to that, though, is there concerted effort now to move off of this conversation about Trump University, to move off of this conversation about the judge specifically, to move off of these things that have really distracted from the overarching message? Or is this something that the campaign still has to bake into whatever else you've just described you want to talk about over the next few weeks?
No, I think we all want to move on to substance, but these are the questions that the media is asking. And at the same time, we can't sit there and allow the media to define Mr. Trump and his policy. So we'll focus on this as long as we need to make sure that it's abundantly clear that Mr. Trump does not see race or gender. He treats everyone the same. He is a counterpuncher, and he's not just going to sit back and let the media or anyone else criticize him without coming back and clarifying.
Okay, Katrina, Lawrence has a question quickly, but I want to remind you once again that the media is reporting on what Donald Trump is saying, and that is why his statements on race come out, because he's saying them, and then the media is reporting on it. Lawrence has a question.
Katrina, you began the discussion by saying that Donald Trump's objection to the judge in his fraud trial in California is not, these are your words, not solely based on ethnicity. So what you're saying there is Donald Trump is right, and you personally believe that some of the objection to the judge should legitimately be based on the judge's ethnicity. And so I'd like to ask you, what is your ethnic background?
I am black and white.
And you've said that the media has been saying for months that Donald Trump is racist, and you blame any perception that Donald Trump is racist on the media. But you say that that's out there, and therefore it is possible that Donald Trump could have a black judge who would be biased against him because he's black. And I'm just wondering how you would feel if a member of your family was in that position that judge is in California, and a member of your family family's integrity as a judge was called into question on the basis that you've laid out here today, which is if the media has labeled Donald Trump a racist, therefore people out there think it, and that judge might be one of them. If that judge was related to you and Donald Trump wanted that judge knocked off of his case, how would you feel about that?
Well, I think that's a really nice try, but it's not the same, considering how Mr. Trump doesn't have a policy that the media has pitted against Black Americans, like the wall, like anchor babies, like amnesty. Those things are tied into that ethnicity that the media has been pushing for months. Has nothing to do with African Americans. In fact, Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump has not said anything having to do with African Americans, with the exception of creating jobs in the African American community, which have...
That's a lie. Trump has been tweeting out racist tweets from sites like Stormfront and other white supremacist groups. So she's caught in a lie on that one.
Been failed miserably due to illegal immigration. So there was a really nice try, but it's just not going to work. It's not the same thing, and I understand the media and the talking heads out there are trying to make it the same thing, but this ethnicity is tied to Mr. Trump's policies specifically.
And birtherism? Birtherism is a policy.
What about birtherism?
Birtherism is a policy that
Anchor
causes
babies?
African Americans to...
Absolutely.
Excuse me. What did you just say?
So you're talking about anchor babies?
No, I'm talking about birtherism. I'm talking about Donald Trump doubting that the President of the United States is an American, accusing him of faking his birth certificate. This is the basis of African Americans. It is the reason Donald Trump became prominent as a political figure in 2012.
I didn't realize that was a policy. Is that a policy? I didn't realize you said it was a policy.
But if Donald Trump,
it's not a policy.
But if Donald Trump is a birther, then could he not, therefore, according to what you and Lawrence were just discussing, then alienate African Americans to the point because it alienates African Americans, and therefore does that mean an African American judge who might be offended by birtherism could not preside over a case involving Donald Trump if they were offended by birtherism?
That doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever.
It makes perfect sense. But you don't want to see it.
People are not offended because maybe somebody was or was not born in this country. Barack Obama is not the standard bearer for all Black Americans in this country. And I could sit here and say, for one, that I'd never considered voting for him because his policies are horrendous, and we've seen that play out now. Birtherism is not a policy, so this is apples and oranges.
Katrina, Donald Trump has asked to see the college transcript of exactly one politician in American history. There's only one he's wondering about, and that's Barack Obama. Is that because Barack Obama is Black?
Well, I think it's because most presidential candidates have been asked to see their college transcripts.
No, they haven't.
Several of them have, and several of them have released them.
But no, they haven't.
And several of them have released them, but for whatever reason, Barack Obama...
See, she just tried to scan over that. Nobody's been asked for their college transcript other than Barack Obama, and she's trying to skate past it. Excellent question by Lawrence O'Donnell.
Not, and in fact, spend money on sealing those documents.
Can you get Donald Trump to release his college transcript this afternoon? Any chance of that?
Can I get them released this afternoon? Probably not on a Sunday.
Will he
Probably not on a Sunday.
Katrina, don't pretend that the college transcript thing is a normal thing in presidential campaign. And Donald Trump proved it because he didn't ask for anyone's president. He didn't ask for any of his opponents' college transcripts this year. Not one of them. He's only asked from one person.
So you're saying only because Barack Obama is Black that he wanted to see his college transcripts?
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be that, right? It's worth laughing about. It couldn't possibly be that. It's a really funny question.
When someone is hiding documents, they are asked to release them. It was that simple. It's not just because the man is Black.
Interesting. All right, we've explored your own birtherism apparently on the show. Thank you very much, Katrina Pierson. Really appreciate you being here. Lawrence.
That's exactly why, and Lawrence Carter, because not one person has ever been asked for their college transcript other than Barack Obama by Mr. Trump. And Katrina Pierson basically tried to skate over it, around it, and past it. Trump is a racist.